Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Hope that work week's in the rearview mirror. If it's not, we'll get you to the finish line. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And fired up you're here for the next 2 hours. Preston Guy talking LSU football coming up in 15 minutes. College football's best coaches coming into the 2026 season. Where does Lane Kiffin rank on that list? We continue our look through LSU's roster entering the 2026 football season. We'll go to both tackle spots at the top of hour number 2. We got one that's extremely proven, one that's a huge question mark. We'll get into that at 2 o'clock. The NFL, ESPN is going through the NFL, and it's going through their position groups, top 10 players at each position. I've got a thought on the Saints that we'll get to in hour number 2 that's interesting, perhaps a little concerning, maybe a little bit exciting. I don't know what the emotion is that we tie to it, but we'll talk about it at 2:15. So lots and lots to get to as the MLB draft is upon us. Let's get to our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
So tomorrow, the MLB draft will crank up from Philly. We'll do the top 4 rounds, and then they'll finish the last 16 rounds on Sunday. A little bit different in terms of days of the week and in terms of the days in which they do it. Used to do the top 2 rounds. Now they'll stretch it to 4. It used to start on Monday. Now it'll bleed through into Saturday and Sunday. It's a little bit different, but I kind of like it, and I'm a little bit selfishly liking it because I'm not going to be at SEC Media Days for this one. I'll be able to man the battle station at home and cover it for y'all at LouisianaSports.net. But I've been keeping my ear to the ground, and if you missed my segment back on Wednesday when I went through the entirety of LSU's class and talked about who I thought they might get, who I thought they had no chance to get, who might be the 50-50 guys, and how impactful that could be, I highly suggest you go back and find that on demand, or you can go to LouisianaSports.net and read it on the LSU Baseball tab. I'm not going through the whole class again today, obviously, but there are discussions being had, and it's a fascinating time because you can't ever get a straight answer from anybody. There are MLB executives talking to their scouts. Those scouts are talking to the MLB executives. Those scouts and executives are talking to agents. The agents are talking to players. Players are talking to their college coaches. College coaches are talking to scouts. And everybody's exchanging information, and you can't ever be sure who's giving you real information because it's a cat and mouse game, right? The agents are trying to get money, are trying to get signed. The MLB organizations are throwing up smoke screens about what player they do want or what player they don't want. They're also trying to see at the same time what money they might be able to allocate here versus there because it's a money game in the MLB draft. So there are some interesting names in this LSU class and the smoke that's around them at this point. Now, keep in mind, I think you understand this. I certainly do, but I want to be clear. That disclaimer I just gave you up front suggests anything can change with one phone call. One phone call on Saturday or Sunday where you've got a kid sending out tweets. I mean, this happened when Jay Johnson had his first year. Paul Gervais is tweeting like, back in BR, see y'all next year. The Braves make one phone call. That's done. Things change that quickly. So I'm not telling you what I know to happen. I'm telling you what people are talking about. I made some calls this morning over to LSU. I'm reading on ESPN. I'm watching Twitter. I'm just kind of taking in the information. And I'm looking at Kylie McDaniel's mock draft, the final one for the first 2 rounds. He's got Derek Curiel going number 11 to the Nationals. That's awesome. I told you at the top of my breakdown segment on Wednesday that the first name off the list for LSU's class is Logan Schmidt. You don't need to know the name. He's left-handed. He throws 97. He's not coming here. He's got him going 38 to the Rockies. Then there's a name I did mention on Wednesday as a guy that LSU would love to get to campus because he hits the ball very far, and that's Dominic Santarelli. He is a really, really talented player. He's got a great left-handed bat. He's also got a great left-handed arm. So you're looking at a guy that's got a lot of talent, and the White Sox may nab him at number 41. Jake Brown is next at 65 to Seattle. Great for Jake. He ran his race here in Baton Rouge. I know a lot of people are going, well, could he come back? Could he come back? He could, but he's probably not because he came here. He was an all-SEC player. He won a national championship. He's going to sign for over $1 million, probably close to $2 million. They've got him going at 65 to Seattle. Now, this is Kylie McDaniel's mock draft, and the interesting thing is he goes through all of his picks for rounds 1 and round 2, and then you get to the text beyond that. And it says, of the top-ranked players who aren't in this projection, it's 75 picks. Of the top-ranked players who aren't in this projection, it's almost entirely high school prospects with tough signability that could push them to college. And he lists a bunch of guys that are mainly committed to SEC schools, and one of the people he mentions is one of the guys we talked about on Wednesday in Jensen Hirschkorn. Jensen Hirschkorn could be a first-round pick. It would not surprise a lot of people if he went in the first round on Saturday. It's not projected. It would be a little bit surprising, but not stunning. And it would make a ton of sense if he went in the second round, and it would make a ton of sense if he signed for north of $2 million. He is 6'7". He's from California. He's got a fastball, 95 to 97, sits in the 94, 95 range. And he's got a lot of projectability, but it is just that right now. His slider's good at times, not great at times. Changeup, okay, but it's really just, he's 6'7", he throws really hard. Okay, awesome. And I told you on Wednesday I did not think that there was a great chance he would be at school. I don't slam the door on almost any of these guys. I'm slamming the door on Logan Schmidt. I told you I didn't think there was a great chance. I don't know if there's a great chance, but there's a sense that there's a growing chance. And like I said, that can change with one phone call. There's a growing sense that LSU could get Jensen Hirschkorn. The other name, not in this mock draft and not even in one of the names that Kylie McDaniel mentions here, is Cooper Sides. He's another big physical right-hander, 6'5", 210, from California. And he is also one that, even if you were listening to AFR yesterday with Matt Musso, Joe Doyle was on and said, I think Sides is potentially going to even pull out of the draft, and I think he could be at LSU. There's a group of about 7 or 8 high school pitchers, and if LSU can get like 4 of them, you are in business because they are really talented dudes. And Hirschkorn and Sides right now, I would suggest, are trending toward LSU. There have been plenty of guys who trended toward LSU. But this is becoming a pervasive theme on the internet. And that's just a lot of people talking. Now, as I told you up front, like, those could be honest conversations. Like, yeah, this kid is sticking to his number. He's telling us, like, yeah, you should probably look elsewhere. We're not going to call him tomorrow. Or, like, that kind of thing. But you never know because the board starts to fall and dollars start to get moved, and it's a game of money. It's not like the NFL draft. It's not like the NBA draft. It's a game of money management. And if you can save $600,000 on your first-round pick, and then you can save $200,000 on your second-round pick, well, now you have $800,000 extra for your fifth-round pick, right? Like, so you never know until the whole thing's over and signings start coming out where the money rests. So that's the game we'll play. It's not necessarily the most fascinating thing for Joe LSU baseball season ticket holder that sits in section 104. It's really interesting to me, one of my favorite times of year, because it's fascinating to me to monitor. But if you just want to know when the dust settles, what it looks like, I'll have that at LouisianaSports.net, and I will absolutely hammer it on Monday's show where things look. Here's how this thing works in its most fundamental state. If a player is drafted in the first 10 rounds, that player is very, 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 very likely to sign. In fact, likely that player has already reached an agreement with the team, which is why they selected him. Every year, there are a couple of guys here or there that don't sign in the first 10 rounds. Kumar Rocker got taken out of Vanderbilt. The Mets took him. They gave him a physical. They hated the results. They lowballed him on the contract, and he went and played independent ball for a year and then came back. He didn't sign. Ryan Prager from Texas A&M got taken by the Angels. I think it was in the 3rd or 4th round. That was when the NIL had just started. He was really loved being at A&M. They had just made the College World Series final, and he had agreed to a contract, and then he kind of went, I don't really want to do that, and he went back. And the thing about the guys that get drafted in the first 10 rounds that do not sign, the MLB team cannot use that money to go back and redistribute. You can't backfill. If you select someone in the first 10 rounds, you either pay them or lose that slot value from your pool. So if they go in the first 10 rounds, it's a foregone conclusion, which 2 or 3 times a year doesn't work out, but it's a foregone conclusion that player will sign. So LSU's got a signing class of about 23. The guys that go in the first 10 rounds, they're going. There will be guys that are taken between rounds 11 and 20 who will sign because teams move some money around. But most often, those ones that don't go in the top 10 rounds, especially when you're talking about players as talented as LSU's commitments and signees, they're going to probably end up at school. So the 2 names that I'm looking out for right now are Jensen Hurstcorn and Cooper Signs that may be sliding towards LSU. That doesn't stop the Detroit Tigers from picking up the phone on Saturday evening and making a phone call, and that changes like that. But right now, there seems to be some movement towards LSU. I'll say this, and I read a story on this earlier today. Professional organizations are running into a new world of NIL. There weren't that many schools dishing out big money 3 years ago. When LSU won in 2023, I'm just telling y'all, Paul Skeens and Tommy White were not making astronomical sums of money to be at LSU that year. They had NIL budgets, absolutely. They were not bajillionaires. There is more money being committed to SEC baseball, and there are real checks to be cashed by college players who then can make money for 3 years in college and then get the 7-figure signing bonus with MLB. They can double dip. If you just take that one time $800K, which Uncle Sam's taking $350 of it and the agent's taking his 2%, and then you go into the minor leagues at 18 years old and you're making nothing until you get to the big leagues, like that money starts to dwindle. Well, you can play in the SEC for a few years, get your 6 figures, and then maybe there's a 7-figure check. Maybe it's the same $800,000 you were going to get that point, but you do have some money in the bank that you can work off of. And MLB organizations are having to look at high schoolers at times and open that checkbook a little bit more than they had to in the past. There's a variable there that they're learning. And so we'll see. LSU, in my opinion, and here's where I'll kind of leave this part of the discussion. In my opinion, looking at LSU's class, looking at their national rank, looking at mock drafts, speaking with people inside the program, listening to Joe Doyle talk, listening to Kylie McDaniel talk, listening and taking all that information in to me personally, I think LSU has enough players in its signing class at 23 to offset the damage that is coming. And it is coming. LSU's not going to skate here. But if you lose 6 or 7, which last year they lost 8 and it was just crippling, if you lose 6 or 7 in this class, you're in really good shape. Really good shape. Now, you never know which ones pan out to be superstars and which guy you get in that was ranked by perfect game number 108 in the country and he comes in and can't play. You never know that. But in terms of the bulk they'll get in and the guys they should get into the program to develop, if they only lose about 6, I think the class is big enough and deep enough. They're in good shape. Now, you need an infielder or 2. You need some starting pitching help. There's some things you need. But I think they're in a good spot. I think things are trending in the right direction. And I'm very fascinated to watch how the weekend goes. I know that staff over there at LSU feels like they've done their due diligence, feels like they've done everything they can in terms of communication, feels like, and this is something I was told yesterday, the staff at LSU feels like this group of high schoolers has been very honest with them. They feel like last year things happened that they weren't thrilled about over the course of the draft. And maybe that happens again this year after all these pleasantries are done. But they feel good about where these guys have been with them. There are a couple and that have told them, look, like I want to start pro ball. But This is a class they feel comfortable with their communication lines, and I think this is going to end up being a monster haul for LSU. But we'll talk about it on Monday for sure. Let's switch to football with Preston Guy next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Speaking of baseball, official bat of Major League Baseball is Marucci. You can swing it at LSU, too. You can swing it at the hitter's house, too. Get on by and take some swings in the hitter's house. Get on by and take a tour of the hitter's house. It took 22 years, well, less than that, but we've been 22 years, from a backyard shed with 2 ex-big leaguers and a trainer to the official bat of Major League Baseball, where the best players in the world will swing Marucci. You'll turn on the Home Run Derby next week, you'll see Marucci. It's an amazing Baton Rouge success story. And you can go take a tour, learn the story, and see where they make 1,200 every single day, where they carve them down, where they stain them, where they ship them off. Such a cool story, such a cool facility right here inside Baton Rouge. You can buy tickets to the Hitter's House and the campus tour online at MarucciSports.com or just stop by. It's all there at Marucci.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Show's always brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Still time to get on by for a late lunch. Government between Foster and Jefferson. Get a shrimp po' boy, shrimp platter, catfish platter, crispy shoestring fries. Or swing on by after work. Bring home dinner for the family. Menus right there, corksfishandshrimp.com. Preston Guys at tigerbait.com. He's with us every single Friday talking Tiger football. Preston, how are you?
Hi, how's it going, man?
It's going well. I want to talk about the actual LSU roster, but we'll start with recruiting, as it has been a busy summer that is winding down in terms of camps and 7-on-7s and official visits and all that kind of stuff. We're getting ready for SEC Media Days and then camp actually starting here in a matter of weeks. But how do you feel the progress has been? It was kind of like a fever dream there for like 4 weeks. How do you feel that this staff has done in their first off season with a full recruiting cycle to work with?
Yeah, I'm keep on going with the phrase good with a chance to be great. Obviously at 16 commits, that is what Lane Kiffin and company averaged at their classes at Ole Miss. So you're 6 months out from signing day, and the fact that you're already at 16, I mean, that's a good sign that this staff has embraced that talent attraction at LSU and Ole Miss are very different. I mean, you're probably not going to require to work the portal quite as much. Now, I firmly believe that every program needs to use both high school and recruiting portal, transfer portal, to be successful, right? But I think they recognize that, hey, you got off the plane last year when you accepted the LSU job, and the number one player in the country was waiting for you in your office committed. That's Lane Kiffin we're talking about, and Lamar Brown, the defensive tackle there. So, yeah, you're going to have to invest and keep, all these talented high school Louisiana players home. And I think they're doing a fairly good job of that and attracting, it's not just Louisiana. They also have a good tie-in with Texas, and they're working kids like Easton Hoyle out of New Orleans and Jalen Brewster, the number one defensive tackle out of Texas there. So I think they're in a good spot. They got Ahmad Hudson to stay home. They got a bunch of other good players committed already. But I think that, you really need to add a couple more pieces, get yourself into the lower 20s before we can call this a great start to this recruiting class.
I did a little segment on this earlier this week. I'm curious your thoughts. I have a feeling where you're going to land, and it's probably close to where I am. But I'm 100% certain that Jay Johnson can run this ship without pillaging Louisiana. He's not going to have a player in his starting lineup next year on opening day from the state of Louisiana, and they'll be preseason top 5. Will Wade doesn't even have guys from the country, much less the state. Those programs do not need the state of Louisiana with NIL and with as small as the rosters are and with their ability to recruit nationally. And Lane Kiffin has that as well, and I'm confident that Indiana didn't have a bunch of guys from in-state running around last year. Like, how important is the state of Louisiana to football? How different is that, if anything?
Yeah, well, certainly you're going to not be able to do it the way Will Wade did because semi-pro football players aren't going to be good enough to win the SEC. In my opinion, Hunt, what's actually made LSU football a special program? What has made LSU one of 3 programs to win a national championship since the BCS era started, right? Is it money? Is it, facilities? Is it something? It's certainly not administrative competence. I'll tell you that much. It's always been a mess in Louisiana, right? It's that local high school athlete that just grows on trees around here. It's the kids, you just look around, like Tyrann Matthew, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham. I mean, Leonard Fournette, they just go on for days here, right? So I really think that you have to embrace bringing in Louisiana kids. In fact, one of the things, if you looked at last year's roster for LSU, it was a lot of talent that they brought in on the portal. They had the number 1 portal class. However, there was not a lot of Louisiana kids on that roster. Most of the kids either left the state or you got them committed and you weren't able to keep them on your roster. They hit the portal and went elsewhere. So, I think that there's something to be said for that correlation that certainly is definitely noticeable at LSU over the years.
It's funny because as you're talking, I'm thinking about position groups over the years. I'm going back to Brandon Taylor's 11 secondary. There was Brandon Taylor from Franklinton, Eric Reed, Louisiana, Morris Claiborne, Louisiana, Tyrann Matthew, Louisiana. I was thinking about Hester's running back group with him and Keelan Williams and Charles Scott and Trenton Holiday and all those guys. And it's just there's so much Louisiana. You think about Jefferson and Chase. You think about Odell and Jarvis, and there's something to that, but it is a different era. And I was just thinking, like, I'm trying to adapt with the times and think about things in a different way. And I know that baseball and basketball don't have to have it while they will use it. Like Paul Maneri had to have it because he's working off 11.7 scholarships and he needs guys on tops. So you have to go get guys from Louisiana so you can go get the superstars like Kevin Gaussman to come in from out of state. And I know that you can work the portal and go get Sam Levitt and go get, there's not a lot of Louisiana flavor in a lot of places on this roster. And I'm curious what you think about this year's team, being that it is so transfer heavy in the starting lineup.
Yeah, look, let's be transparent with football. Again, you're not having to have the same scholarship restraints and,
right.
Kind of use tops to kind of work it out. But at the same time, no matter what the system is, right? Why do you have more national championships than Texas in the last 30 years? Well, because somehow, some way, you got that Louisiana kid, those groups we were just talking about, to stay home, right? So whatever the system is, you got to find a way how to get those talented Louisiana players on your roster competing, right? Whether it takes money or whatever, because here's the deal. If it's just a money and resource game and go to the portal where you've got an equal at-bat as Texas and all these other great programs, Texas Tech, whatever, that you lose your edge, right? You lose your advantage, right? So in terms of this year's team, I actually haven't done an analysis to see exactly how many Louisiana players. Certainly there's Trey'Dez Green there.
Yeah, Bo Bordelon and Trey'Dez Green are the only 2 I can think of on offense that are going to play a lot.
It's Philip Wright.
Except for Harlan Berry.
Oh, yeah, Harlan Berry and Philip Wright if he gets to play this year. But there's not a plethora of that Louisiana talent that we're used to. And that's one of the reasons I'm a little apprehensive about where this team is. Certainly there's a lot of talent on this team and there's a lot of things, but, I need to see how these 59 new faces come in and play together because it's not just a issue of are they Louisiana guys in the state, right? It's also an issue of, hey, you've got 12 out of your 13 receivers are new to the team. Yeah. Your entire quarterback room is new to the team. By the way, your starting quarterback wasn't even there for spring. So how are they going to work and gel together? Look, LeBron James went to Miami with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and they started that season off like at 500 because they had no chemistry. Now they ended up making it to the NBA Finals. Don't get me wrong, but my point is chemistry takes a while to build, and how are these 59 new faces going to build chemistry with each other? I have some reservations.
I think this is off the top of my head, and I think because I've done this in-depth chart thing I've written about the entire team over the last 2 weeks. Harlan Berry, Trey'Dez Green, Bo Bordelon on offense, basically, unless Philip Wright, like you said, plays a good bit. And then on the defense, Deshaun Spears, Dominic McKinley, maybe Tylen Singleton and that's kind of your Louisiana flavor because Relaford's hurt. So, I mean, maybe if Dylan Carpenter plays some on the edge, but there's not a lot of Louisiana flavor on this team. And look, this is a deal where you're going to have a coaching change. You have a massive overhaul of the entire roster. So many guys jump in the portal. Like Ahmad Bro would be playing on this team, but he jumped into the transfer portal. You had a big coaching change. So this is a bigger overhaul than most years in the Kiffin era are going to be, I think. But it's not Louisiana heavy.
Yeah, I would really like to see their system get to more like something in the ballpark of 20 to 25 from high school, and you're only getting about, 15 or so from the portal. I'm not naive enough to think that they're ever going to be so good at roster retention. And by the way, you probably want some attrition year to year because instead of having guys that aren't panning out and just saying, all right, well, come on, it's year 4 and you haven't panned out yet. Maybe we'll get you as a fifth-year senior to give us a few snaps, right? It's like, no, you'd be much better served using that spot. All right, butter, go head on off to, whatever small school and see if you can crack their lineup. We're going to go to the portal and see if this kid from Nebraska can shine in the SEC.
Yeah, Jerry DiNardo once said, it hurts to lose the guys, but the ones that hurt you worse are the guys you actually get that can't play. That it's a different era where didn't have guys transfer and those guys were taking a roster spot for 4 years. But there's something to that for sure. Preston, have a great weekend. We appreciate the time, man.
All right, talk to you soon. Thanks, man.
That's Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, football recruiting and team coverage. They got you covered over there at TigerBait. We want to tell you about our friends over at Ochsner. It's hot out there, y'all. Y'all are well aware of that, obviously. It's so important to hydrate. It's important year-round, but certainly this time of year. It's essential for your overall health, for your performance if you're looking to get into athletics or just working out. Hydration plays a key role in how your body functions every single day. Proper hydration is going to help support your energy, your focus, your recovery. Even under an hour outside, you need to drink a cup of water every 15 minutes. That's got to be something that you do. Avoid peak heat hours if possible in the middle of the day. Try to run in the morning. Try to work out in the evenings. And if you're out there longer than an hour, you've got to add electrolytes. Aim for 2-to-1 water to sports drink ratio. Try to make sure you're drinking enough water. And if you're out there for longer, you can mix in some of those low sugar sports drinks. That's all courtesy of our friends over at Ochsner. If you are dehydrated and need medical attention, find your nearest Ochsner urgent care at ochsner.org/UC. It is fascinating. I mentioned this earlier this week and just kind of got into that discussion with Preston. I don't think I'm wrong on this. Like, there are some other Louisiana guys on this list that obviously Lamar Brown and Richard Anderson are from Louisiana. Clearly, those guys are freshmen and they're looking to find their way. Maybe Charles Turner plays some at Michael Turner plays some at the cornerback position. He's obviously a Louisiana guy, and they're low on numbers there. He's probably 4th on that list. But it's not an extensive list of Louisiana guys. I was thinking back just to some of those teams, and they're so very Louisiana heavy. That 2011 secondary was all Louisiana guys. And you go back to T-Bob's offensive line that had T-Bob, who had Louisiana roots. His dad moved out to go play for the Falcons, and he grew up in Atlanta, but he had Louisiana roots with Will Blackwell and P.J. Lonergan, who were Louisiana guys. It was so common to have just a total group of Louisiana players out there, and you'd go see the wide receiver group, and there'd be 4, 5, 6 Louisiana guys. I mean, you had Jarvis Landry and Odell on those teams I used to cover, but like James Wright was on those teams too, and he was from Belle Chase right down the road. Like it was in the fabric of the DNA of the program, and I think it will be moving forward, but to what degree? Probably less, because you would rather play Jordan Seaton at left tackle than whoever you might have had, like Tyree Adams. Jordan Seaton's better than Tyree Adams. Tyree Adams is from right down the road, but Jordan Seaton's better. You'd rather have Prince William-Ellen, who's got 10 sacks, whose name in the SEC, than some guy that was a 3-star Dylan Carpenter. Like Prince William-Ellen's better than Dylan Carpenter, so he's probably going to play. And you'd rather have Sam Levitt than whoever you had from the Louisiana ranks. Walker Howard. Sam Levitt's better than Walker Howard. And you have access to those guys more so than you ever had. So it's something that I'm going to monitor moving forward. I've got some things that I believe in the world that I cover that I stick to. And in this instance, I am willing to take a larger sample size. I know that you need to get Ahmad Hudson. You need to get Easton Royal. You need to get these studs from Louisiana. You need Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson on the team. But you can also go get one from California, unlike what you were able to do previously. And so it's something I'm going to monitor moving forward. That's for sure. Moving along here on a Friday, brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We will step aside. We will come back. We'll talk about college football's top coaches. Where's Lane Kiffin on that list? And is there a new face at number 1 that's next?
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, online at FabryChevrolet.com. Fabry family has been at this in Baton Rouge for 35 years. You know them. You've had great experiences with them, and you'll continue to go back time and time again because of that. It's just a great customer service experience, and it starts online with an amazingly user-friendly website. Sort by new, sort by pre-owned, sort by price, sort by mileage, sort by make and model. Look at the features that are there. You can whittle this entire inventory down to 4 or 5 vehicles that fit exactly what you're looking for. And once you do that, we'll go up Highway 61 in St. Francisville and have that unbelievable customer experience. Get behind the wheel of those vehicles and pick the one that's perfect for you. School's right around the corner if you want to make sure you're in that new vehicle to get the kiddos to and from school, to get the kiddos to and from practice. It might be time to go up Highway 61 in St. Francisville and say hey to my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Again, you can start that process at FabryChevrolet.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Feeding in bulk. Got a catering event, birthday party, retirement party, family reunion coming up. Summertime's good for those. Corks. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Corksfishandshrimp.com. They bring you our Friday shows. ESPN.com annually comes out with their top college football coaches entering the 2026 season. I would like to argue with number 1, Curt Cignetti, but I'm just not going to do it because I would have a hard time winning that argument. He's 27-2 at Indiana. 27-2. And that is a small sample size. It is. But it comes with a couple different quarterbacks, and it's not like propped up by 1 or 2 guys. They've just played great football for 2 years, and they weren't ready his first year to win, and they went to Notre Dame in that playoff game and got beat, and they got smacked by Ohio State. But they were really good last year, and so I just have a hard time certainly vaulting someone over Curt Cignetti at number 1. Kirby Smart is number 2. They're not the juggernaut they were. They're not. That couple of years there was pretty frightening, and you thought they could rip off a Saban-like run. Then NIL and transfer portal hit, and things started getting crazy on him. But he's still really good. He recruits at an extremely high level. He knows defense. Yeah, I wish he would have stopped Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl last year if they didn't. I think they can get better at quarterback, and we'll see what Gunnar Stockton is. That's like the missing piece. Like, they won those national championships with an underwhelming quarterback. Let's just call it that. Is that fair to say? An underwhelming quarterback? I think it is. What if they got the 3rd pick in the draft at quarterback? What if he got to play with Tua or Bryce Young or Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow, and he just hasn't had that? Like, the start of their rise, he's got Jake Fromm out there. And that's not going to get it done. And Carson Beck's a talented guy, but, like, what if Kirby ever got the dude? He just hasn't gotten that yet, but they're still really, really good. Ryan Day's at 3, most underappreciated coach in all of college football. They're 82-12. I don't care that they lost to Michigan a few times. One of the things that is I'm thrilled that I can have that shapes my ability to absorb sports is that I don't have to obsess over one team all the time. Like, Texas A&M just obsesses over Texas all the time. And Ohio State and Michigan obsess over each other all the time. And Auburn and Alabama obsess over each other all the time. And Ole Miss and Mississippi State all the time. And they're just always looking at the other one. And while, yeah, I'm paying attention to what Alabama's doing. Yeah, I hate Texas A&M, and I hate Alabama, and I don't like Ole Miss at all. Like, I'm aware of all these, but I'm more worried about what LSU's doing. And Ohio State fans lost the plot because he wasn't beating Michigan. And then you got Michigan fans saying that their Ohio State championship 2 years ago doesn't really count because they didn't beat Michigan. Yeah, it does. It's one game. Who cares? So I'm glad that LSU doesn't have that year in and year out. Ryan Day is great coach there at number 3. Marcus Freeman comes in at number 4. I don't know about this one, folks. I don't know. Here's the deal. They play an atrocious schedule. It's not an okay schedule. It's not a bad schedule. It's embarrassing is what it is. It's an embarrassment to the sport what they do on a year in, year out basis. If you want a chuckle on this Friday afternoon, go look at what Notre Dame has in front of them this fall. One of their huge games is BYU. BYU. They had 3 important games last year, and they lost 2 of them. They don't play anybody. Navy, Purdue, Boston College. It's a joke. So I think he's a pretty good coach. But 4th in the country, you sure? I don't know about that one. Then you put Dan Lanning in there. I would take Dan Lanning over Marcus Freeman in a heartbeat. I would. I think Lanning has won some bigger games. I think he does it against better competition. I would take Lanning over Freeman. But that's 4 and 5. Steve Sarkisian comes in at 6. Kind of time to prove something at Texas. This team is ranked really highly. You've got your quarterback in what's probably his last year. Sark needs to prove himself. And then at 7 comes Lane Kiffin. He is ranked 7th. His record overall is 116-53. But, of course, that does include stops at Tennessee, at USC, and at FAU. 150 games in 5 years at Ole Miss. And has a great 6-year run that reached heights that Ole Miss had never seen. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where Kiffin kind of ranks in this. There's a reactionary phase to this that ESPN seems to fall into based on last year's results as opposed to the entirety of the body of work, although I can't argue with Cignetti. But Kiffin comes in at number 7. He's just in front of Mike Elko at number 8. I got to tell y'all, I know Elko made a little comment last year after the LSU A&M game where somebody mentioned Brian Kelly's record at night, and then he immediately cut him off and added one to the loss column. He's got a little bit of that in him. He does a really good job of saying what A&M fans want to hear a lot of times. He made a comment after A&M beat LSU that Tommy Moffitt was the difference because that was a big thing for A&M to jab LSU with. He's good at that. That stuff rubs me the wrong way because I'm an LSU fan. But overall, I think he's a really bright guy. I think he's awesome on third down defense. I think his recruiting classes are very difficult to argue with. He's loading up a ton of talent. I don't know about his offenses. Colin Klein's fell flat in their biggest games, and then he goes and gets a guy from on his staff that's never called plays to run a Marcel Reed offense. That's when we go to media days a week and a half from now, that'll be the complaint with A&M. It's like, do we think they're going to be good on offense if they had a flat offense? They couldn't score on Texas, couldn't score on Miami. And so that's Elko's problem right now. He's got 6 of the 7 Pistons of that program firing pretty good, but the offense isn't great. But he's there at number 8. Kyle Whittingham at number 9. And then at number 10, Mario Cristobal. Interestingly enough, on this list, you got Elko, you got Kiffin, and then Sark. That's 3 SEC names. And then the only other one is Kirby Smart. So only 4 of the top 10. There was a time there where you would have had more of that, but the Big Ten is kind of invaded, and then Mario Cristobal comes in there. I don't want him managing my team on game day at all, but the rest of the stuff he's pretty good at this point. So Lane Kiffin comes in at number 7 on this list of the top 10 coaches in college football. I guess you'll take a top 10 coach, although Brian Kelly was on a lot of these lists too, and that didn't seem to work out all that well. So, and Ogeron was at the top of this list after 2019. So you never know. It's list season, right? I'll tell you this. I got my own list. The most demanding jobs in all of sports. I think the top one might have just opened. I'll close the hour with it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com. SwingEasyGCBR.com. It's the weekend. Time to play some golf, right? Well, it's hot. And I think, based on my radar on my phone, it's about to start raining pretty hard in South Louisiana. Surprise, surprise, afternoon in the summer. If it's too hot or it's too wet or you don't have 5 hours, but you want to play golf this weekend, you don't have a tee time, Swing Easy Golf Club. Go in there with your friends. Go in there by yourself. Tee it up at Pebble Beach. Tee it up where they give out that jacket every April. You can play Cypress Point. You can play Bethpage Black. Play TPC Louisiana. It's on the simulator. Great time. Drink a cold beer. Listen to some tunes. Hang out with friends. or just play by yourself. I told y'all I was going to have 9 holes played in about 25 minutes the other day when we were there for our competition. So it can be really, really quick. Doesn't have to be a 5-hour round of golf out there in the heat. Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge, on Segan at Perkins, online at swingeasygcbr.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope you're having a good afternoon. Want to remind you about First American Bank and Trust. They're online at FABT.com. That's FABT.com. Local banking right here in Southeast Louisiana. If you're looking for a commercial loan for your business, First American Bank and Trust. You might be thinking, well, I need a pretty sizable loan here. We're a pretty reasonably sized operation. I can't go with a local bank there. I need to call the national guys. Wait a second. 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. They've got resources. And I think it's a comforting feeling to know that when you're talking about your commercial loan or your personal loan, that decision is going to be made locally by a bank and a group of people that care about the community. It's customer service. It's passion about the community. And it's been growing for 116 years. First American Bank and Trust has been here for a century. They will be here for a century. Looking for a personal loan, looking for a commercial loan, First American Bank and Trust. They're online at FABT.com. All right. Jordan, are you looking at the doc? Don't if you aren't.
I mean, what's going on?
I think I see the most demanding job in sports has just opened up. Do you have an idea what that might be?
Well, if I think like the most demanding job in sports, it's got to be like the New York Jets head coach or something
Jets
like that.
head coach?
Yeah, like that's got to be up there.
Maybe, yeah, I mean, that's pretty demanding. Playing quarterback. For somebody
NFL
is a pretty big deal. Here's what I think it is. Because look, if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you throw an interception, it's okay. You're not going to be cut. If you're the head coach, you lose a game or you make a bad challenge, you're not fired on the spot, not one time. There's a new job, well, not a new job, but a job opening up at Augusta National Golf Club.
Okay.
They're horticulturist.
Horticulturist?
That means you're in charge of the grass and the flowers.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, heard it's like really intense.
It's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
There are so few things that you experience in life that live up and exceed massively high expectations. It's just a rare thing. And I know a lot of people that have been to the Masters. I have never one time in my entire life heard someone go and be like, yeah, it was not that great. It is like walking around in a painting. There is not one blade of grass out of place anywhere.
Really?
Anywhere. It's perfect. Every single inch. And so, if it's not,
you're fired.
You're fired. Like, this is a place where a couple of years ago during the Masters, they had a heavy thunderstorm.
Okay.
And the ground got really wet, and a big old tree fell. It was on the CBS cameras. They showed it falling by the tee box.
Okay.
Play had been cleared. There was nobody out there, but they saw the tree fall. You came out the next morning, you couldn't even tell where the tree was.
Oh, wow.
They had him come out there, saw that thing up, haul it off, clean it up, done. Like it was never even
like
there.
it never happened.
Like it never happened. They had massive hurricane damage a couple years ago.
So
showed up for the Masters. Could have never tell.
So this guy is like
he's in charge of making sure everything's perfect. That's the job. You make sure this place is perfect.
So is he like a grass expert?
Yes, that's what horticulture is, growing plants.
Okay, so this guy can make anything happen. He's like the ultimate green thumb is what you're saying.
That's right.
So to get this job, like what are like the qualifications? You got 30 years of grass keeping, lawn
I would
care?
think you've got to have an elite knowledge of the chemical structure of grass.
Photosynthesis?
And then you've got to have worked like 20 years on some awesome golf course.
Okay.
They're not just grabbing this guy. Oh, this resume looks nice. Come on in.
Yeah, this guy cuts grass.
No, that's not how things happen at Augusta. When I saw that, I chuckled because that place is unlike any other place. It's a different world there. And the how pristine it is. They go to the lengths of every cup that you drink out of is clear.
Oh, okay.
And every sandwich wrapper or cookie wrapper that you get is the green, the color of the grass.
Okay.
So if someone were to, and it would be a big mistake, drop or litter something,
Yeah.
you wouldn't pick it up on the television camera because the cups are clear
Wow.
and the wrappers are green. So it would blend in.
I didn't even know that. That's like some next level thinking.
It's a different world. But yeah, it's so if you know something about grass, if you're proud of the way your front yard looks out there in Baton Rouge, and you want to take a look at the most perfect grass in the world and think you have the qualifications to go up there and run the show at Augusta, I bet it pays pretty good. They got a lot of coin over there at Augusta National Golf Club.
It sounds stressful. This sounds
guy's
like one
going
of
to
those
be
jobs.
making bank. So if you got the best grass in Baton Rouge, Denham Springs area, you're listening to me, and you think you've got the lawn, and you think you can run the show at Augusta, it's open. You just got to reach out.
Oh, so it's not filled yet. It's
No,
open.
they just opened it. Just posted the job.
Oh man, I can only imagine like the amount
But
of
you
people.
better do it perfect. You better not screw up one day.
I can only imagine what's like the like the little demo tape you got to send in
Oh,
or something like a video footage of these lawns and this care you have. Green thumb.
Yep. It's I won't be applying.
Yeah.
My yard looks quite poor at the moment, but that's not 100% my fault. It's like 80% my fault, but it's not 100% my fault. It grows real fast this time of year. So we got to call my friends at GoTros, which we'll talk about in the second hour. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. Talk to Preston Guy about the LSU football team. You can catch that at Hunt on LSU. Talk some MLB draft. There are some names trending towards LSU. You can catch that in our first segment today. And the top coaches in the college football. That's there from ESPN. We'll pause for national headlines and Sports Center talk. LSU tackle, plus some Saints in hour 2.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. BoudreauxElectrical.com is the website. Neil and Melissa have been running the show for over 40 years at Boudreaux's Electrical. They know what the needs are of the people in this part of the world. It's because they've been servicing this part of the world for 40 years. They know that afternoon thunderstorms come through like last Sunday. They know that hurricanes come through like they do year over year. It's been quiet the last few years. Hopefully this is quiet as well. But why risk it? Get in front of the storm. Be proactive and get that Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical, and do it with them because they're local. You get a local team of installers. You get a local team for maintenance. If you have an issue with your generator, you call a local company on a 985 or a 225 number. They come out, do your maintenance, and make sure that generator is ready to go if that power goes out on you. 985-397-1562 is where you can find them. Their original number, also 225-300-9389. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services.